So if you've got a short-term rental website, one of the biggest decisions you'll make is actually hiding in plain sight. I'm talking about the text on a single button. Yeah, get it wrong and you're leaving a ton of money on the table. But get it right, you could literally send your bookings through the roof. Today, we're diving into the high-stakes choice between two very simple phrases.
Okay, so here are our two contenders. In one corner, you've got the direct, high-commitment punch of book now. It's confident, it's clear, and it's asking for the sale right then and there. And in the other corner, you have the softer, low-commitment, check availability. It's more of an invitation, an exploratory first step. One is basically a marriage proposal, and the other is just asking someone out for coffee. So which one actually wins?
Now you might be thinking, it's just a couple of words. How big of a deal can it be? Well, it's a huge deal. This is not some minor design tweak. The data shows that picking the right button can literally more than double the number of potential guests who even start the booking process. Let me show you what that actually looks like.
Check this out. One travel company ran this exact test, and the results were just staggering. They saw a 116% increase in clicks just by switching to the softer call to action. That is more than double the number of people entering their sales funnel, all from changing two little words. The stakes are officially high.
So, which button is it? We are not going to make you wait for it. In this first part, we're cutting right to the chase and just giving you the answer up front.
And the winner is crystal clear. Based on all the data and a deep dive into user psychology, the undisputed champion for getting more people to take that crucial first step is check availability. Now that you know the what, let's really dig into the why and see why it wins so decisively. All right, let's look at the proof. In this next section, we're going to dive into the hard numbers and the real-world tests that show just how much better a softer call to action really performs.
So this data comes straight from the vacation rental world. A specific A/B test found that swapping out Book Now for check availability led to 35% more people clicking through. It just proves that for this audience, a less demanding, less intimidating invitation is way more effective at the start of their journey.
This quote from a tour booking consultant just nails it, doesn't it? Book Now feels final. It implies payment, it implies a locked-in decision. But something like See Dates and Availability feels light and safe. It signals that you're just looking around, and that tiny difference is everything when it comes to getting that first click.
And this isn't a one-off thing. We see this pattern consistently across the travel industry. One tour operator saw their bookings spike practically overnight after a similar change. Conversion experts report this again and again as a consistent, easy win. And it all comes down to a really simple truth. Most of your visitors are just browsing. They aren't ready to pull out their credit card, and an aggressive Book Now button can actually scare them away.
Okay, so we've seen that check availability wins, but now let's get into the fun stuff, the why. This section is all about unpacking the psychology that makes this simple word change so incredibly powerful. It all starts with a classic principle called the foot in the door effect. The idea is super simple. If you can get someone to say yes to a tiny, easy request, they are psychologically primed to say yes to a much bigger request later on. It's all about building that little bit of momentum. And here's exactly how this plays out on your website. Clicking check availability is that small, easy yes. It's a micro commitment. Once the user clicks it, they've started down a path. They're now just a little bit invested, and because our brains love to be consistent, they're much more likely to follow through with the bigger yes of actually completing the booking. Let's really break down how a user sees these two buttons. Book Now just screams risk. It signals get your credit card ready, and it feels like a final unchangeable decision. But check availability, that feels like there's zero obligation. It's just about gathering info. It feels safe, it feels easy, and most importantly, it puts the user in control. And there are other cool psychological triggers at play here too. Check availability subtly creates a little fear of missing out, FOMO. It makes you wonder, are my dates even available? Which prompts a click. It also gives the user a sense of autonomy. Words like check or see feel like helpful suggestions, not demands, and that totally lowers our natural resistance to being sold to. So we have the data, we have the psychology, now for the really important part. How do you actually put this into practice? This section is your simple 3-step playbook for getting this right on your own website. Here is the ideal flow. Step 1 is to engage the user with that low-friction check availability button on all your main pages. Step 2, as soon as they click, you immediately reward them by clearly showing the available dates and pricing. And then finally, step 3, convert.
Only after they've seen the options and picked their dates do you present that high-commitment Book Now button. It's a gradual, totally natural progression.
Let's map this out to make it super simple. On your homepage and your general property listings, you're going to use Check Availability. On a specific properties page, use it again to get them to pick their dates. And only on that final checkout page, after all the key decisions have been made, do you hit them with the Book Now to seal the deal.
All right, let's bring this all home with the final actionable takeaway. What should you remember, and what should you do next?
If you remember one single thing from all this, make it this: guide, don't push. Your job isn't to force a sale on that first click. It's to offer a low-friction invitation that turns curious lookers into engaged bookers. You got to start with a handshake, not a hard sell.
You know, it's so easy to get lost in complex marketing strategies. But like one of our sources says, sometimes increasing bookings starts with the words on a button. It really is a simple change with a massive impact.
And that leaves us with a final question for you to think about. After seeing the incredible power of this one simple tweak, what one small change on your site, maybe one you've overlooked 100 times, could make the biggest difference for your business? It's definitely something worth thinking about.